RSN, Racing and Sport.
He's done it, and what a way to do it. The 100 that Chris Rogers so badly wanted, the Boxing Day 100, the one that should see Australia over the line.
Yes, it was one of the lasting moments from the Boxing Day test. It's always a big test match at Boxing Day, but particularly when it's an Ashes test. And Chris Rogers fulfilled everyone's boyhood dream who loves playing cricket to make a Boxing Day test century against England, an Ashes test match. It simply doesn't get any better. And he's sitting right next to us in the studio. No sleeping in for us. He gets these important engagements right. He came in nice and early for us. Chris, thanks very much for coming in. We really appreciate it. And just hearing the commentary then from Channel 9 of that 100, does it get goosebumps happening on the back of your neck?
Yeah, it's still an amazing feeling. Never thought that this was going to happen. So, yeah, when you hear those things or you see them, it's amazing. What's a tougher week for you? Playing cricket for Australia or the celebrations that happened as a result? Yeah, they were hard work, I can tell you. No, it was fantastic. I think for 3 days, it was just going on adrenaline, really. And, yeah, it was brilliant fun. And to be able to celebrate with all the guys, that was pretty special.
Well, there's no doubt the Australian public know that you deserve that. You've put in so much hard work in the turnaround from the English Ashes set of 5 tests to how it came into here. What are some of the things that really just jumped out from behind the scenes that you can share with us that made the difference? It really seems like Australia ambushed England going into the first test, particularly the Gabba.
Yeah, I mean, I look back to England and the Lord's Test. That was the real low point. But from then on in, I felt we actually probably played the better cricket. We just had some maybe one or two poor sessions and rain got us a few times. So from then on in, I think we played quite well and we were doing good things, but there was still a little bit of tweaking. And I think that probably came down to Darren Lehmann. I think he really had a plan about what he wanted to achieve with the side and who he wanted in the side. And I think he got just about everything right.
So in England, when that was occurring, and I guess statistically, is that the information that Darren's feeding you that, hey guys, you're right on track here, you're probably on top, you're probably playing the better cricket, but there has been rain and that. Was that the message that was getting through into the team?
Yeah, I mean, we have our KPIs and, I think we were pretty much achieving them. We just weren't winning games at cricket. So there was a lot of positive stuff going on, and the other thing is that that what was going on behind the scenes was good as well. That people were working hard, having lots of fun, enjoying being around each other. I'd heard there were a few riffs and things like that, but I hadn't seen any of it. So there was some good stuff. We just needed to win a game. I think confidence was down in terms of that, and then so Brisbane was crucial. We had to win in Brisbane if we were a chance, I think, and we smashed them, and from there on in we were fine.
I'm interested. You were talking before about the apparent issues within the Australian team, and one of the feelings was why you were brought into the team was to bring some experience and some stability, not only to the top of the order, but just within the team with the experience you've got playing cricket for so many years at first class level. Were you surprised when you got into the team and thought, hang on a sec, this isn't what I thought it was going to be?
Well, I was surprised. Yeah, I remember that phone call. It was a pretty special phone call, I must admit, from Invis. So yeah, that was it. And then the other one was, when there was a change of coach, I wasn't sure if Darren Lehmann rated me, to be honest, and I think Mickey had pretty much expressed that I was going to be starting up, and so I thought, this is excellent. And then a couple of days later, he was cut, so I didn't know where I stood. And then Buff came to my room when we were down in Taunton, almost his first day, and just said, "Look, you're starting," and that was a magic moment. So, and then from there, when I played, I think the first game was I played okay, and then Lords. It all went down the toilet, and we were copping a lot of criticism. There were some guys I really respected who are paid to be critical, and they had a few bad words to say, and that hurt. That was probably as hard as it gets. So Yeah, so at the time I was wondering if I actually enjoyed it, but you're playing for your country. It doesn't get much better, and then since then it's been a bit of a dream, really.
We've got so many questions that we both want to ask you, but just we'll try and have some sort of order with it all. But just going back to that time after the Lord's Test match, and because there were questions being asked about you, and I think unfairly because of the record was on the board with what you'd done at first class level, but the reality is you're 2-0 down in a series and the questions are being asked. How hard is it for a batsman under those circumstances to be able to just focus on what you need to focus on, which is hitting a red cricket ball?
Yeah, it is. I mean, I was new to it. I was older than anybody else, but it was brand new to me. The one who really I got most out of was Watson. I've never seen a bloke criticised as much as Watto, but I remember him and I trained together at Lords after that test, and I was telling him about what I heard and stuff like that, and he just said, look, you just can't afford to worry about that. That people are getting paid to have an opinion, so you just can't worry about it. And then from then on, I think I kind of refocused, and almost it was the best thing that happened, and I just didn't worry about it. And then Manchester, I played really well, so it was in some ways it was a blessing.
Are there parts of your game that you've developed since then, or is it simply going back to what you do well when you've got to the higher stage?
No, I reckon I've learnt a lot actually. I think technically I've always moved forward into the ball. You've seen how I bat, Bryce. I move forward, but when you're playing Stuart Broad, who's bowling thunderbolts and back of a length, that's probably, I got caught out pushing, like almost going forward to the ball in Brisbane. So since then, I think I've adapted my footwork and yeah, if anything, I feel like I'm probably playing better now than I have before.
Well, there's no doubt about that. We've seen the proof of that in both Melbourne. Now, that must have been a special moment, making 100. You would have been very determined. You moved across. You're a bona fide Victorian now, and making 100 in front of a record crowd. It was just a superb moment, and really, well, for me, it was having known you, of course, but it was just a real moment that gave me tingles. The fact that you'd gone out there, you've achieved this, you've come from really nowhere to make 100 there. What were you feeling when you were raising your bat around to the crowd?
Oh, mate, it doesn't get any better as a cricketer. I mean, to get hundreds in Melbourne and Sydney, and see your name up on the board at those places, that's stuff you dream of. But that game, I think, we had to. I'd probably missed out a few times when it was my turn to get hundreds, and so in a run chase where everything can go wrong, you've got to step up as a senior guy, which I think I am now. You've got to step up and be counted, and fortunately I did, and it made it all the more sweeter, and then to have such a big crowd, standing ovation, that stuff is just crazy. It's just fantastic.
Well, it certainly won't be a memory that'll be erased from your mind forever. And obviously, it was just an amazing situation. Now, you just mentioned there you dream of that. Is this something that you have in your mind? Did you have these pictures in your mind that have driven you through, I guess, playing first-class cricket in England and Australia for so long, with only playing the one test? You played a test, what year was that?
2008.
2008, and then had a bit of a gap, but you've gone on and just continued to make runs. Are these the visualisation, the picture you've had of, that's what I want to achieve? Is that what was driving you through?
I think the thing that drives me is that I've always been good at domestic cricket, state cricket, county cricket, and my record's, comparable to most people. So, but I'd never had the opportunity to play international cricket, and that's, how will you ever know how you're going to be like if you never get that opportunity? And just was desperate to do that. So and then then you speak to people like Justin Langer who will tell you about what it's like to walk out in front of 80,000-90,000 people at the MCG, and you think, gee, I'd love to be a part of that. So there's a few things that I've definitely thought about. Particularly coming into this series, I was desperate to get to the Boxing Day test. I thought that'll be a highlight of my life. So then to go get 100, what do you say? It's just amazing.
65 of them at first class level, and now 3 at test level. You mentioned before about being a top order batsman, and I've made the point on this radio station a few times. Top order batsman, your job is to make not just runs, to make centuries, to set up test matches. What about in that first innings in Melbourne? Even though the series had been won, you batted really well under tough circumstances and got out sort of uncharacteristically in a sense. To then go and do what you did in the second innings, it would have been particularly pleasing, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, I mean, I think I'd seen the other guys get hundreds, and you can see what it means to people, and what it meant to me in Durham when I got the 100. So, I desperately wanted to do that, and then missed it out, played a crap shot, can't swear, crap shot in the first innings, and got out to Bresnan, which it's disappointing. So to kind of back up and then come good and get 100, and win a test match, a fourth innings test match at the MCG against England in the Ashes. I mean, what do you say? It's just amazing. I know I keep saying that, but it was fantastic.
Chris Rogers, Australian opening batsman. How does that sound, Chris, when you get introduced as Australian opening batsman or Ashes hero? Does it sit comfortably with you? Is it all a bit weird still?
Yeah, it is. Even the taxi driver, working out who you are, that kind of thing makes you laugh. So I've been pretty much anonymous for the whole of my cricket career. So this is a bit different. So unfortunately, I'll probably have to behave, which is a bit.
Well, you still do your dancing and all that sort of thing. You don't have any issues doing that in front of millions of people.
No, well, I was probably still drunk, so probably had a little bit of courage going on there.
I want to ask you, you're talking before about after that second test in England about sort of the doubts or the pressure, sort of maybe not the doubts, the pressure on you to perform. I want to then go forward to Adelaide when you were walking out to bat, and you put it on the record yourself about the fact that you needed to score runs, and I thought it was an amazing honesty from a cricketer to come out and say, you know what, yeah, I need to score runs. But what's going through your mind when you're walking out to bat under those circumstances, that you are playing for Australia and you want to keep playing for Australia, but just the pressure? I get nervous going out to bat playing local cricket, but when you're doing it for your country, knowing what's on the line, what's it like?
Yeah, well, I mean, I haven't had sleepless nights because of cricket before, but I've had plenty of late, and there was... Yeah, the one leading up to Adelaide, even the training session the day before, I was struggling to talk. I was just, I was that nervous, and just desperate, as you said, desperate to do well. So I'm just trying to think back to how I was. I think once you start to walk out there, though, I think it's almost the best thing to do is face the first ball, the first over. Actually, I think in the first over the ball went up my jumper, so that kind of relieved a little bit of pressure. But but then you're okay. Then you're in the fight, and it doesn't matter. You get on with it. And I've gone to open the batting, thousands of times or whatever. So that's okay. It's probably just the lead up. That can be horrendous. As I said, and never had sleepless nights before. Bryce, you've probably seen me asleep on the change room floor at times, so never had a problem with sleeping. But these days, it's amazing because I guess it just means so much to me and to everyone.
So you're sort of saying that instinct, in a sense, takes over. You don't have to keep reminding yourself between balls that, Chris, this is just cricket. You've just got to hit the ball, keep it simple, all that sort of thing. You get into that zone regardless of the sort of the standard of cricket you're playing, and it just means that maybe it's a bit harder to hit the ball because the standard's better. Does it sort of make sense?
Yeah, being in the zone, that's batting. I mean, knowing where you're comfortable to be mentally, and so, I guess that's a bit second nature these days, so that's okay. And Adelaide, I still probably wasn't hitting the ball that well, but I just knew it was a flat wicket, so if I could spend as much time out there as possible, the runs would come, and fortunately I got a few.
Well, that's been, I guess, what we're seeing now. If we take it right back to the very start, now your father John has been a big influence, no doubt, in the way you play. He was a first-class cricketer for New South Wales. Share a little bit about your upbringing and what you remember of him playing cricket and how he introduced cricket to you.
Yeah, well, he was a bit of a middle-order right-handed slogger, so I'm not sure how I ended up a top-order left-handed blocker, but yeah, he was excellent. I mean, he loves the game, and he pushed me. There's no doubt about it. I was probably pretty lazy as a kid. I mean, I was quite relaxed. I didn't worry about too much, and still loved the game. But he did push me and I'll always be grateful for it. It wasn't in a bad way, but it was, come on, we've got to go to the nets. If there's always going to be someone else who is at the net, so you have to get there, and he did, and we, I think he built a brick cricket wicket out the back, so he could throw tennis balls at me, and he did that a lot, and we just worked on technique.
So along the way, with these players that you play with, and that's a great thing of county cricket, isn't it? These international players who know the game. So it's been an evolution to where you are now. Obviously, there's been incredible success along the way. There are no opening bats who average 50. It's an amazing record that you've been able to put together, but it's been that evolution all the way through, and you've even shared with us before that you're still learning this series.
Yeah, I'm a big tinkerer though. So guys talk about you do your pre-season and that's it. Once you're in season, you can't change your technique. But I don't believe in that. I think you've got to constantly evolve, and it might mean one step forward, two steps back at times, but or even the other way around, one step back, two steps forward. But it's about adapting your game, because you come up against different challenges, different bowlers who will present different ways to get out. So you just have to keep adapting.